All right, welcome back to the Weirdest Team Ever podcast, where I cover the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we are recapping a really bad, embarrassing collapse to the Atlanta Hawks. Um, I don't really know where to begin with this one, just because it feels like there aren't a ton of words or metrics to describe how it went. Um, Wolves lose 113 to 127 to the Atlanta Hawks in Atlanta. Wolves fall to 1-2, and there seems to be, I'll just get right into it. There seems to be an issue with this team that at this point I'm just convinced is woven into their DNA as a core. And I don't really know who that starts with. I don't know if it starts with Chris Finch. I don't know if it starts with Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't know if it starts with Anthony Edwards. I don't really know who it starts with, but this team is just allergic to holding on to leads. I think I watch a lot of NBA basketball, but um, I don't think that I see any other teams blow as many leads as the Timberwolves do, especially in this fashion. I mean, maybe the law of averages is kind of did its thing, or maybe something more like magical is going on. Like maybe their talents or their shooting just got sucked out of them at halftime. I don't really know what happened, but what I can say was that was probably the worst collapse I've seen from this team. Um, which is saying something, because we've all seen a lot. Um, Game 3 against Memphis, I think, wasn't even as bad as this one. Like, obviously the stakes were higher, but um, as far as the game itself, this was really, really bad. Um, when I was like watching the game, I was thinking, oh, it'll be a happy episode. It'll be a happy recap. I ended up missing um, the Wolves Heat recap. Um, I did watch the game, and maybe I'll talk a bit about that one at the end of this podcast. But right now, still kind of focused on the Hawks versus Wolves recap. The game just ended like 10 minutes ago, so this is like my real first initial reaction. Um, and I don't have any stats on this, but how how often do 40-point swings actually happen in NBA games? I I'm thinking not a lot. Um, the Wolves played what I thought was probably their best half of basketball in what might be like a year, honestly. Like, I think it's been a long time since the Wolves played as good as they did in that first half on offense and defense. Um, it started with Jaden McDaniels coming back, first game of the season, back from that calf strain. He gets in the game, he hits a pair of threes, um, gets in transition, um, is playing great defense on Trae Young. It started with McDaniels, and then Ant started to heat up. Um, then we started to really see um, Gobert on defense and on the glass and getting putbacks, converting at the line. Gobert was all over the place. Um, I once again, I think Gobert was the best player on the court tonight. Even though Edwards has the 30-point stat line and um, the multiple assists and the good shooting game, he kind of disappeared in the second half and in the fourth quarter when the team needed him to take over. Um, I don't really know how Ant doesn't get the ball in that fourth quarter. I don't really understand why you would choose to close with Cat. Um, I think part of what made that Miami game so interesting from my end was the decision to close with Gobert and Naz and just leave Cat off the court. Finch went with a different look today. He decided to have Gobert out there, or no, he decided to have Gobert sit while having Cat out there to close the game. And I think we saw in real time how costly that was. I love Karl-Anthony Towns. Don't get me wrong. Like, he has meant so much to this franchise and this fan base for so long, but especially when considering how good Naz was against the Heat and how good Naz continues to be in his minutes, it's like, if you think about it, how if Naz is at least half the player that Cat is, at least he could be 2/3 the player that Cat is. If Naz is at least half the player that Cat is, and he's making 20% of the salary, I just don't. I'm struggling to see how Karl-Anthony Towns' tenure on this team can continue to go on for more than this year, or maybe even less than that, depending on how dire things get. But and I don't want to be alarmist just because it is the third game of the season, but um, it's 3 games where Karl-Anthony Towns says it's not been convincing. I thought he played a really good first half. Um, the defense was rough the whole game, honestly, but offensively, I thought he was decisive in the first half. He was really getting into the lane. Um, he was converting on tough layups. He was getting the ball where he needed to get it. I thought he was making good reads throughout too, and we he disappeared the second half, similar to Anthony Edwards. Cat just didn't show up really. He barely took any threes the whole game, which I thought was weird. Um, um, Especially in the second half, I thought it was weird. The first half, I liked how he was scoring. I thought he was scoring in good ways still. And if if the ball is going into the basket, you got to keep doing that. But um, I think he took like 2 or 3 threes the whole game, and 2 of them were in garbage time when the game was already decided in the fourth quarter. Um, I'm just I'm not out on Cat, but I'm starting to worry about Cat. Today was just another second half no show, or just a no show when it started to really matter. Um, Ant. I talked about Ant a little bit already, but to go from having that first half of 20 points and 5 assists on that elite shooting, um, and then to just not do a whole lot the rest of the game. Um, it was weird. I thought Ant played a really bad defense tonight. He couldn't do a thing against DeJounte Murray, and I get that offensive players who are playing like that are going to be hard to stop, but yeah, Ant couldn't do a thing to stop him. Ant was foul prone. Um, on offense, he was turning it over down the stretch in like the worst ways. Um, just having like probably the most important possession of the game, Ant just he was too casual with it with his ball handling, and Bogdanovich just ripped it from him, um, and ran down the court. It it just wasn't convincing, as much as we all love Anthony Edwards, and we should love Anthony Edwards because we can all recognize that he does things on the court that nobody else can do on this team. I think his clutch time decision making still has a long way to go um, before it is where it needs to be. That's simply that. If the Wolves are going to be in close games this year, or in games where um, leads aren't safe, your best player needs to be a better decision maker when it gets close. And I thought against the Heat, I thought he did a good job at that. Tonight, I thought he did a bad job against at that. and it was in a lot of different ways, like the turnovers, like I said. Um, I think not just demanding the ball when the game is starting to get out of hand is a fault on his part. I think that Anthony Edwards should have just demanded the ball and said, "Okay, get out my way. I'm gonna do something." Um, because like I just said, he's he can do things on the court that nobody else on this team can do. Um, and obviously, I think he knows how to make the open reads when he gets them. But in games like that, when Ant is going multiple possessions in a row without even touching the ball, I'm so confused. I don't understand what that is. Um, the bench, I also don't think had a very good game. Kyle Anderson had a good game in my opinion. Um, I thought Kyle Anderson probably had I don't want to say he had the best game of the team, but I thought Slow-Mo played really well. Um, I thought Naz had a really good first half, draining threes, kind of doing his thing. But again, he went quiet second half. Um, we didn't really get anything out of him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has been really disappointing so far this season. The shots just haven't gone in. Um, yeah, I just don't know what the deal is. It seems like he's all over the place, like he's in his head. It's it's weird. Okay, let me read this stat that just came out on Twitter. NBA teams have scored 79 or more points in the first half 229 times in history. None has ever finished the game with fewer points than the Timberwolves 113 tonight. I mean, that stat I think kind of sums up a lot of how the game felt, in my opinion. Um, yeah, like I almost don't even know what to say about this game just because it was just so weird. Hence, the podcast name and everything. Um, yeah, just a really bad, embarrassing um, collapse that again we've seen often with this team, and it just seems to be part of who they are as a core. Um, I I also don't understand why Jordan McLaughlin just doesn't play at all. Like we saw against Miami, Jordan McLaughlin comes in the game and he completely changes things. My light is being like fucking crazy. Let me try this. All right, let's hope that works. Um, Against Miami, Jordan McLaughlin comes in the game. He has like 5 assists in like 5 minutes. Um, he's all over the place. He's scrappy on defense, like spotting up, waiting for the opportunity, making the corner threes. I thought Jordan McLaughlin was so good in that Miami game, and I don't know why he didn't play more then. This game is the kind of game where you say, okay, we're not doing this. Nickeil, get out. Shake, get out. McLaughlin, you're going in. Just do something, and that didn't happen. Um, like I know we kind of know that Finch really likes to have um, more of a scorer, like a scorer ball handler in those second units. But um, when Jordan McLaughlin is on the team and he's just there, I think you have to play him. I think there's no excuse not to play him, given how good he's looked so far this season in the short minutes he's gotten. Um, yeah. Let's talk about the Hawks side of this for a little bit. Um, they made their shots when the Timberwolves didn't. It felt like in that third quarter they really found out a good way to counter um, all of the Wolves' main things they had going on. Um, DeJounte Murray absolutely killed the Wolves from all levels of the game. Um, he was tough on defense, um, getting in the way, poking the ball, um, rebounding, just being who DeJounte Murray is on the defensive side of the ball, and on offense, it was like he was unguardable out there. It didn't really matter who got put on him. I don't remember if we saw a ton of McDaniels on DeJounte because you want McDaniels to be on Trey mostly, but man, Anthony Edwards was getting cooked out there. I can't even lie. Ant was really bad guarding DeJounte. Yeah, DeJounte Murray, he took 24 shots, made 17 of them, took 5 threes, made 3 of them. Yeah, 7 rebounds, 79% true shooting for DeJounte this game, 2 steals, 5 assists, was just brilliant the entire game. Getting to his spots in the mid-range like it was nothing, just making them every single time. Getting to the rim, taking the threes, like I said. He was dominant. He was dominant all night. Capella, I thought offensively was completely nullified by Gobert, but defensively had a good game. We saw like some weird plays at the rim by Towns and Conley, even where they just like challenged Capella straight up, and I don't understand that move. I say what you want about Clint Capella, but he's a great shot blocker. He's one of the NBA's best rim protectors, and he has been for a while. I remember in the 2021 season when Capella had like 10 blocks against this team. He was good on defense all night. And it was frustrating to see. It was frustrating to see him do that, even though he had a bad rebounding and offensive game. I thought the rim protection was really good from him. DeAndre Hunter had a really good game. Jalen Johnson, better first half and second half, but still was effective the entire game. Onyeka Okongwu, I thought was good. Sadiq Bey, it was just like all of the Hawks shooters were making their shots. Bogdanovich had a bad shooting game, but it still felt like he made the shots when the Hawks needed them. Trae Young, also a kind of an off, or maybe not an off shooting night with how he's been playing, but Trae Young, 9 for 22, 1 for 7 from 3. When you can get Trae to miss as many threes as he did, and when you can get Trae to miss as many simple floaters that he usually makes every single time, you've got to capitalize on that. You absolutely have to. Trae finished the game with 24 points, 1 rebound, 8 assists, 1 steal. I didn't think Trae played even like 75 or 80% of what he normally can be when fully healthy, and it didn't matter. Maybe you could say that if DeJounte Murray doesn't shoot like this, then the Wolves still win. But I don't agree with that. I think it was bad defense in a lot of ways. The way he was able to just kind of get to his spots and make his threes. Yeah. Also, free throws was a big thing in this game too. Timberwolves only made 60% of their free throws. The Hawks made 94. Those are easy points. Free, like actually, no pun intended, free points that the Hawks were just able to get that the Wolves couldn't do. Anthony Edwards, the free throw shooting I didn't think was like bad tonight because he only took 1, but you also missed it, right? Like he needs to be able to make free throws better, and that's something that continues for all the games. Gobert shot 8 for 11. That's better than his average, sure, but 3 missed free throws still hurts. Nickeil Alexander-Walker missed 2 free throws. I thought those were really bad from him. Nickeil didn't even take a ton of shots, but you could just feel his impact be like so negative for this team. I don't really get it. It was weird. Shake Milton, I thought had a really good first half. Second half, he just completely fell off. Didn't really know what to do. The spacing was bad. He was part of the problem. He would just stand, and yeah. Yeah, I think most people watching this probably watched the game, and if not, like I'm sorry that I don't have a ton more to really talk about other than just me kind of rambling a little bit because this game just kind of felt all over the place. Um, it was really just a story of two halves. In a single game, we saw probably the best half of Timberwolves basketball we've seen in a long time, and then also one of the worst. Um, yeah, and if this is what they mean by Wolves back, I guess we're in for a long season because that was really bad, really really bad from this team. Um, yeah, I'm gonna revisit what I said a little bit earlier about the Finch thing because the Finch part of this confuses me because it feels like he has really good ideas, or I mean, most coaches have good ideas, but I don't know if Finch is the one to be able to like always execute his ideas the best. Like I kind of said earlier, that the lineups were a tiny bit strange tonight. Um, it felt like during some of the most important runs of the game, there were just weird lineups out. Like I know I was kind of shitting on Cat earlier, but um, when things are getting that dire and you are opting to go without Towns or Anthony Edwards, um, or like another scorer like Naz out there, it's like I don't really know what to do. I think they probably were trying to go for more of a defensive look, but when the Hawks are shooting like that, I think you got to fight fire with fire a little bit. Um, I think Finch failed to do that. Also, like I mentioned earlier, um, opting for Towns to close the game over Gobert. Um, I think that's a situation where it's not even fighting fire with fire because Towns didn't play like he didn't shoot well. Um, and when he's not scoring, like Gobert, I'm gonna look at this to confirm, but I felt like scoring wise, Gobert had just as good a game as Cat. Yeah, Gobert 14 points, Cat 16 points. I think Gobert still gives you offense in that look, especially if you're going to have Conley out there. Um, and Gobert provides you defensive player of the year level defense. Cat does obviously not do that. So yeah, Finch. I mean, yeah, we've seen this before with this team. It can be kind of hard to know how much of it does go on the coach, and I don't. This game I don't think is the best representation of that either, just because I can see a way that you can just break this game down to the Wolves made their shots in the first half and missed all of them in the second half. Um, maybe that was it, it was just as simple as that, but like I thought Atlanta made solid counters to things. I thought defensively Atlanta adjusted. I thought offensively Atlanta adjusted. Um, and it didn't feel like the Wolves did that. I mean, the Wolves got punched in the mouth like 3, 4 times. They didn't respond back any of those times. Um, maybe that is on Finch. I actually would probably say for almost certainty that that kind of thing is on Finch. I don't know what that really means. I don't really know. Um, but I do kind of know that this game, I think Finch has to be feeling like some of the heat for it. That's just kind of how it goes. Quinn Snyder outcoached him and then some. Um, yeah, I think I've kind of said all that needs to be said about this game, except for McDaniel's also coming off the injury. 23 minutes makes sense, but I also would have liked to see him play a lot more. Um, I think you got it. I tweeted this early in the game when things were going well, but um, I think so much of this team's success relies on McDaniel's to be the defensive connector and the offensive connector. And when he's only playing 23 minutes, you can kind of feel that. Um, just him not being good. or not him not being good, but like the team not being good when he's out. That's what I meant. So yeah. So let's talk about the Heat game a tiny bit. It's kind of feels like old news at this point, but I was at the Target Center for that game. Home opener. It was a great environment. I thought the fans really showed out. I saw people at the game that I recognized from this content Twitter space. Shout out to What's on Tap, Jay Wilder Adams. He recognized me first. Said what's up to him. Yeah, it was cool interaction. I thought, yeah, the Timberwolves fans packed the house and they showed a lot of love to the guys on the team. Naz Reid, especially, they were, we're all chanting Naz Reid, Naz Reid, Naz Reid. Naz had a great game. Best player on the team that night, pretty easily. During the opening introductions, the fact that the crowd got loud as the game was wrapping up, fans all start cheering, "Where is Jimmy? Where is Jimmy?" Jimmy had, a reaction to that for sure. What's up with that guy, by the way? Why does he keep on dodging the Wolves? It's kind of like I just think it's kind of weird that he's like the face of not being soft or the face of like being super tough, but like it's the third game of the season, um and he's already resting on a back-to-back. It's like, especially against a team where he clearly like has the or he's made it clear that he thinks is like a soft or weak team, or how Cat is like a soft or weak player. It's just like, I don't know why you don't play us then. um he hasn't played the Timberwolves since November 2021. That was the game where Ant dunked on Vincent, and yeah, that game. But Butler hasn't played the Wolves in Target Center, or really at all since then. So don't really get it, but yeah, super fun game. I bought an Anthony Edwards jersey. It's somewhere over there. I'm not gonna grab it, but yeah, really fun game. And I apologize I wasn't able to make like a recap episode or video of it. It was Halloween weekend, so had festivities to attend to. Probably should have just stayed home and or waited and got the video out, because these don't take that long to record. But yeah, I don't plan on missing any more recap episodes from here on out. So expect a constant stream of those, and a bit more consistency, even though the season just kind of started. So I think before we wrap up, I think we can kind of look toward who do we play next? The Nuggets. I think it's the Nuggets on Wednesday. I wonder if it's at home or if it's at Ball Arena. Let me check that real quick. Let's see. Defending champs, November 1st. Target Center. Okay, it's a home game. I won't be attending this one. So I'll be able to get a review as pretty much as soon as the game is over, just like this one. It'll come out the next morning. You guys will be watching this on Halloween morning, probably around like 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. This will come out. But yeah, Nuggets matchup. Obviously, we know they're one of the best teams in the entire league. That offense is scary, really scary. I do think the Wolves match up probably as close to as well as a team really can, considering Jokic and Murray's two-man game, and the amount of shooters they have, and the size the Wolves can throw on their size. It's going to be a tough matchup. Wolves are at home. We saw last season that the Wolves were able to beat Denver at home. in Minnesota. That is. So hopefully we can repeat that, but it's going to be tough. It just is when they've got a player like Jokic and who there's no answer for. No answer that'll work for more than a few possessions in a row anyway. And assuming they've got all their players playing like Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, you know the cast of characters over there. Yeah, we'll see. Part of what makes this game against the Hawks part of what makes it blow so much more is that this is the kind of team where at least you can get a win. It's like you want to get a win against this kind of team. So if you lose against a really good team 2 days later, it doesn't sting as bad that you fumbled this first one, but didn't happen. Team could very well fall to 1-3 after Wednesday, which would suck. I've been saying it all summer on Twitter and on my other podcast, and it's kind of to everyone like this Timberwolves team needs to start out strong. They can't start out bad and begin to sputter with how good this Western Conference is and just how this team has played the last few years. This team can't do that again. And right now it's looking like that's going to happen again. And even the Miami win, which is a super fun win, that was an awesome win. But even then, it was, the team struggled to really get any real momentum on the Heat until like the late fourth quarter, and that's a game where Gabe Vincent isn't playing and Jimmy Butler isn't playing. Like the Heat were down some serious players, and the Wolves took them a long time to break it open. Took them a long time to break the game open. So yeah, this Nuggets game on Wednesday is going to be tough. It just is. I mean, I feel like we kind of know what the story of that game is going to look like. Like there are ways the Wolves can win. Obviously, trying something like last year's playoffs where you put Cat on Jokic and let Rudy roam. I don't know if that'll work again this time, or it didn't really work last time. It sort of worked, but whatever. Yeah, we'll see. It really feels like the only way that we are going to win these games is if I don't even know, like it can't all be on Cat, but like we got to be getting more from Cat. I think Ant could be giving the team more. McDaniels being back will help the bench again. Other than Naz Reid and Slow-Mo, it's like Shake and Nikhil are just not really cutting it. It feels like at times, and McLaughlin's got to play, and there's a lot of questions with this. With goddamn honking the horn. Oh, it is snowing outside like crazy. What? Man, Minneapolis weather. Still October and it's snowing. Yeah. Well, I got distracted there at the end, but I think we can basically wrap this episode up. Again, just an inexcusable loss from the Wolves. Probably the worst collapse I've ever seen. This is, it's reminiscent of that Sacramento game back in like 2019. It's reminiscent of that OKC game also in 2019. It's reminiscent of that Orlando Magic game in 2021. It's reminiscent of what feels like every game in that Memphis series 2 years ago. Man, it's just tough. It's just really tough. And we're going on our fourth year of the Finch era, and team just blows leads a ton. So I I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you for watching. Please like the video on YouTube and subscribe if you're on YouTube. This will be on Spotify. I'll try to work on getting this up on Apple Podcasts soon too. Just like however you can interact with the with the episode, just please do so. Share with your friends, family, whoever who is either into the NBA basketball or into the Minnesota Timberwolves, or maybe someone who is into Minnesota sports but wants a way to get more into the Wolves because they've kind of maybe fallen out of keeping up with them or something. But yeah. Anyways, have a good rest of your day, everybody, and peace out.